No, there's on each seat there is a button.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Thank you for your patience. We're going to get our symposium underway. I hope you're all rested after yesterday's visit to Auschwitz-Birkenau and our wonderful gala dinner last night. For those of you who don't remember, my name is Alex Benjamin. I'm the director here at the European Jewish Association. As you would have heard from a number of our speakers yesterday, remembrance of the Holocaust is extremely important, especially in these times of rising intolerance, division, animosity. But remembrance is one thing. As you may have noticed, the European Union now has a strategy. It's no longer just combating anti-Semitism, it is also fostering Jewish life. So what can we do here to ensure that Jewish life continues in Europe and is vibrant and is confident and can continue, as my colleague Juan Caldes said yesterday, contributing to the world? So this is what we're here to discuss. But in the meantime, I wanted to show a short video of what it is that we are dealing with when we talk about anti-Semitism. It's coming.
Coronavirus lockdowns and COVID conspiracies are being blamed for a rise in anti-Semitism in Europe.
I think that anti-Semitic conspiracy myths have been there for centuries. And in fact, whenever there is a pandemic, they have come to the fore.
Like here in Berlin, or in Brussels, where the chants spoke of ancient battles between Jews and Muslims.
Of April 4th, 2017. Her neighbor, Kubili Traore, a man convicted several times for violence and trafficking, entered the apartment that shares a balcony with Alini's own flat. He crossed over from one side of the balcony to the elderly woman's side and broke into her apartment. Traore hit her repeatedly, some 20 minutes. The victim's screams and the killer's own shouting woke up many neighbors. Traore shouted Allahu Akbar and called his victim Satan or Shaitan.
Anti-Semitism and incitement against Jews intensified rapidly, leading us to concentration camps. Thus began the Holocaust. The Holocaust is over. A shocked world pledged never again. But sadly, it doesn't end. It doesn't stop.
Armed guards have been posted at synagogues.
We deal with this hate all over the world.
Freeing many hostages.
65-year-old Orthodox Jew was savagely murdered.
Day to day, week to week, month to month.
Breaking news. At this hour, police are on the scene of a deadly shooting at the Tree of Life Synagogue.
It is less than 1 month before the International Holocaust Memorial Day on the 27th of January.
Oh. We appear to have lost the sound there briefly. We'll carry on letting the video play anyway, because I think it's worth seeing. Okay, we had an issue with the video there, but I'm sure you can all appreciate exactly what is at stake. And in fact, Rabbi Margolin said yesterday at the dinner what we're dealing with just in the last couple of weeks with Kanye West and the kind of horrific anti-Semitism that we've seen rearing its head, talk of the old libels of Jews controlling the media, going DEFCON 3 on Jews, which I'm not quite sure what that means. But in any case, we have serious matters to discuss, and I'm delighted to welcome our moderator, who is going to be guiding us through this this morning's symposium. And she's called Miss Lea Louisa Strasburger, originally from Hamburg, a wonderful young lady who is dynamic, has done a lot of work with on moderation, and knows a great deal about the Jewish people and our struggles and our hopes and our aspirations. So with that said, I'd like to invite Miss Lea Strasburger onto the stage, and she's going to take you through this morning's symposium. Lea.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you very much. And also thank you to all of you that you stayed today. While yesterday was a lot, the visit to Auschwitz-Birkenau was really going, I think, to all of our hearts and souls, as well as the speeches in the evening. Today, we're going to talk more about the political implementations and also what you guys can do, because as we already heard from the speeches yesterday, we have to do something, and we cannot look away. So, when I prepared for this moderation, I was actually sitting in Brussels with my friend Shirley, and I looked at this jacket, and she said, this is actually from my grandfather, who is also a survivor and was a tailor. So when we talk about anti-Semitism, it sometimes seems so far away. The atrocities that we saw yesterday, it's like we can't really comprehend what happened. But what we really should understand is that anti-Semitism is not only a question of which is which is a Jewish problem. It is actually a European one, and who do we want to be as a European society? Which values do we want to protect? And is it sometimes maybe also easier to look away than do something? And where's the legitimate criticism for this against or for the state of Israel, and where is the line crossed? And it's very anti-Semitic. So, but before talking about the present today, we will look back to how did anti-Semitism also develop, and actually how was it before the Second World War. So I would like to invite our first guest. You all already know her, wonderful Baroness Regina Sokovolsky-Sluzny. You heard her story yesterday. And today she's doing actually great work for education, and we're really happy that you are here and doing this great work. Now we go a little bit in a different topic. How did this all happen, and are there parallels to today? Thank you, Regina.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you. Well, anti-Semitism is a very dangerous phenomenon. It's much older than the 19th century. It's considered a form of racism. It can be manifested in many ways, from an expression of hate or discrimination against individuals, Jews or not Jews. Between 1870 and 80, an open anti-Jewish campaign started in Germany. The actual target was the Jews because they were the only semi-people who lived in Europe. Throughout Jewish history, the Jewish people have experienced various persecutions. Anti-Semitism was present in the late Antiquity and early Middle Ages in the Roman Empire. The Jews were ejected from their homelands and officially established as second-class citizens. Even though there were only 10% of the population of the Roman Empire. So even if there were only a few Jews, they were always guilty. I think that most people know about the Jews were expelled from Spain and Portugal because of their religion. It's always the religion. It started with the Christian. They hated the Jews for always. During the Spanish Inquisition and the expulsion from Spain in 1492, the massacre in Ukraine in 1648, and anti-Jewish pogroms in the Russian Empire between 1821 and 1906, it was always the Jews who were guilty, whatever happened in their country. The Jews in the Muslim land were known as dhimmis, were allowed to practice their religion, but not openly, and they had to pay a special tax for every non-Muslim adult made to the Islam State. There were inferior status for these people. They could not have arms. And only because their religion. If we turn to Belgium, we see a difference between Brussels and Antwerp, where most of the Jews were living. Both Catholic cities. In the 30s in Antwerp, there was a population of 300,000 people. The Jews arrived after the Kishinev pogrom in 1903. And it was okay, they were accepted for whatever they were. But less than 20 years later, half of the foreigners in the city, in Antwerp and Brussels, half of the foreigners were Jewish people. And the Flemish Catholic circles didn't accept them anymore. The temperatures changed towards the Jews. The rising toll of Zionism as a movement was not accepted in the Vatican, and the Jewish people who worked in Antwerp in diamond industry, the dealers and the polishers, was also a new issue, where they looked at the Jewish people like they earn a lot of money. And the jealousy came on more and more. An important rise in anti-Semitism in Belgium started between 1930 and 1940. The New Order organization, mostly Flemish national-formed people, they were pro-Nazi, and these groups became more and more stronger, and that's where the anti-Semitism was. The Jewish people felt it more and more. Physical attacks on Jews began in 1933 after Kristallnacht. Manifestations became frequent against Jews, and the arrival of additional waves of refugees in 38 and 39, especially after the Anschluss and the Kristallnacht, it wasn't the situation because of the Catholics. Even in the papers, they publicly attacked the Jews. They made no difference between the Jews who lived there years before that, because a lot of them came 1920s, and the new immigrants. There was no difference for them. When the German army came into Brussels, for the Jews' life changed completely. And especially in Antwerp, they had a mayor who was pro-German. So it was even more difficult in Antwerp to be a Jew than in Brussels or in Liège. Now, to finish with a good note, during the war, 50% of the Jewish people living in Belgium were saved by the Belgian people. Not the ministers, because they left for England, but the people themselves, not in the big towns, but around the towns. They didn't know what Jews were. And it was not only because they were Jews that they were saved, but because the Belgian people remembered what happened in the First World War, 1418. And they wouldn't accept that the Germans were killing people. So some of us were saved because we were Jews, but some of them were also saved because they were just people. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Regina Sokoworski-Sluzny. So, we look a little bit at the time, but actually, I just saw there is some parallels. You mentioned that Zionism was not really accepted before the Second World War as well, and actually we will hear about this a little bit soon from our next speaker, how this is a parallel. So maybe you can tell us a little bit, like, what is the message you would like to give to the society today, and where do you see the biggest danger?
Well, we see the danger in Antwerp, for example, because I live in Antwerp. The students don't know anything. That the smaller children don't know, okay, I'm going to the schools, I tell them, but it's for them till the age of 17, it's like telling a story, and they believe it because I'm there. It's not reading or film. But if you take those who go to university, they are a minority, the Jewish ones, and they are attacked daily. But because they are a minority, they don't want us, the leaders, to go and defend them because they're scared. So the work is very hard and complex.
Thank you. So you would say it's the education part where we really have to put our focus on.
I think that education from a very young age is very important, to make them understand that we are all people and we are all the same.
Thank you so much, Regina Sokoworski-Sluzny. We will already, just like with a look at the time, we will already go to our next speaker. Thank you so much. Please continue your work. Just want to mention, she's visiting up to 3 to 4 schools per week. So I think we should applaud you for that as well. Yes. But she cannot do it alone, as we all know. She cannot do it at all, so we all need to support and remember. Thank you very much. So that brings me actually to my next guest and speaker, Mr. Director of the Action and Protection Lead. He was already yesterday on stage. You just did like quite recently a report. Please, you can already come up on stage. So we heard yesterday from EU Commissioner Várhelyi that actually anti-Zionism is also anti-Semitism, because the Jewish state is basically for the Jewish people, so it's kind of the same. And also we just heard from Regina Sokovolsky-Sluzny that this is kind of not a new phenomenon, but I'm really excited to hear about like your report. I'm happy if you like have like a little intro statement and then join me here on the panel. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So just a few words about the resources, data collected regarding anti-Semitism all around Europe, and which are raised some serious questions. First of all, last year we conducted anti-Semitic prejudice survey in 16 European countries. The result shows that from east to west, the anti-Semitic prejudice of the certain country societies decrease from east to west. There is no answer the question raised based on this data, why the anti-Semitic incidence number dramatically increased from east to west. The anti-Semitic manifestation nowadays has three different forms. The first, as the serial of stereotypes about Jews, which are suitable for gaining hatred toward Jews. The second form, which some calls secondary anti-Semitism, is related to the Holocaust denial or distortions. The third, which is the new anti-Semitism, so-called, is the hatred against Israel. The first two, as the survey shows, as not indicates any act by the anti-Semitic people. That's why the anti-Semitic prejudice in the Eastern European countries is relatively high, but the number of the anti-Semitic incidents is really reduced. In Hungary, 40, 50 incidents has been monitored by us. Same days in Germany, more than 2,000. In France, more than 700, which is only the official data. There is no any other data which is under the line. The hate against Israel in the Eastern European countries are in really low level. Therefore, there is no anti-Semitic incidents which is indicated by the hate against Israel. But the Western European countries, most of the incidents, roots came from those efforts or those forces which are fueling the hate against Israel. So I would like to draw your attention to that new form of anti-Semitism in the Western European countries, which is fueled by the certain political powers as well. But that's that kind of anti-Semitic appearance occur most of the anti-Semitic incidents in Western European countries. The previous speaker mentioned the importances of the education. We are talking about long time ago, the importances of the education. We do not see some acts. Those words are empty without any action plans, without any actions. That's why we just introduce our projects in Hungary, and we would like to gain it to the other European countries as well, that the Jewish community education experts revise the curricula and the used workbooks and worksheets in the elementary and secondary school, how the Jewish subject appears on those books. And we evaluate it, and we just create some suggestions, recommendation for modification in case of misunderstanding or some misfacts. It has happened in 5 years in Hungary. Now the second term has just started beginning of this year, because every 5 years renew the Hungarian curricula by the state. So we would like to draw your attention again for this education program as well, and ask your help to introduce this project in your countries, checking the workbooks and worksheets, what the student receiving about the Jewish subject in the worksheets. So those are the most important. This is the first step if we are talking about the education importances related to anti-Semitism. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Saleh. I'm happy if you join. Yes, please join me here. And you talked about action plans, and we are very lucky because today we have a lot of representatives. You can sit here, you can choose. A lot of representatives of different governments of the EU countries as well from the European Parliament, so wonderful, right? So I would like to encourage you also to take part in this discussion. If you have questions, raise your arms. We have enough time. We have the opportunity right now to talk to you. So I will start with the first question. And I just remember, it's also not for me, this topic is not so new, especially with the educational books and worksheets in school. I think this discussion is going on. I remember I was like a little girl when we already started talking about that, but no change really happened. And that's exactly the thing, like we shouldn't look away. But before talking about it, you mentioned a little bit that there is a difference in like former Soviet state, like there's a type of anti-Semitism in the Soviet, in the like more Eastern European countries versus the more Western countries. Where would you see the biggest growth areas of anti-Semitism? Is it on social media, hate speech, or is it really on the street? Is it this like underlying comments that we just ignore or try to ignore, but they are there, where you have the stereotypes? Just maybe to explain, in the former Soviet states you have this really like typical stereotypes, I don't know, about like different nationalities, and then you have the, on the Western countries you have the more imported anti-Semitism. Maybe you can say something to that, yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned social media, which is the main channel to spread the hatred toward Jews. There are no significant survey or monitoring report how big is the hate speech on the social media. Because of the social media operator do not want to let the researchers or the NGOs to monitor that field. I would like to introduce now the new project of us. The Germany and the French language social media posts and comments will be monitored by us. We just signed up an agreement with an operator for receiving those kind of data from the Facebook, Twitter, Reddit, and all kind of social media operators. And we will be able to operate that kind of monitoring on Germany and French language social media. So, beginning of next week, we can share with you the results. How big is that hate speeches on the social media? Of course, we believe this is the main channel of spreading hatred against Jews, the social media. That's true. But it's not only the channel where the hatred reached the Jews. We are cooperating with the local community as well, because the latencies, as some researchers say 50%, some researchers say more than 50%. So when the Jewish people just walking around the street, for example, in Hungary, and hearing some anti-Semitic comments, they don't go to the police or they don't mention it, maybe at home, but you know, those facts doesn't breach the researchers or the monitoring operators. So that's why the community activity is also really important to get a clear picture. How big is the local or the society anti-Semitism appearance nowadays?
Thank you so much. By the way, if you have questions, please just raise your hand and we will... Oh, there's already one coming. I will ask a brief one and then maybe you should still have a microphone already. Yes, thank you very much. Yes, sorry.
Mr. Belden?
Yes, sir. So you say it's like the education, but also the community engagement, which is really important. I think when I'm correct, you do also like street questionnaires, like you ask people on the street in Hungary what they know or about anti-Semitism.
This anti-Semitic prejudice survey was the personal interviews, and asked the people on the street and in the community as well. The result said that although the Hungarian anti-Semitic prejudice is relatively high in the Hungarian society, it's 32%, 34%, those data did not change during last 5 years where the data are available. But the anti-Semitic incidents are reduced during these 5 years. Because, of course, you know, the stated political statement of the Hungarian government, zero tolerances against anti-Semitism. And because of, there is a changing in the Hungarian society as well, according to you know, speaking about the Holocaust and speaking about the Jewish communities, or even there is a new, let's say, agreement between the major society and the Jewish societies. But of course, those changes are not coming year by year. It's a long-term process, of course. But we believe if we just share and announce and express these surveys that show exactly what is the real fact about the anti-Semitic appearance. This is the most important. This is the base of any other discussion about this subject.
Thank you very much. Mr. Belder, I'm happy to give you the floor. Please introduce yourself briefly. Yes.
Yes, my name is Bastiaan Belder. I'm a former MEP, member of the European Parliament for 20 years. And thank you for your presentation. A short question and practical question. In Germany, I'm following closely the scholarly debate on education, on anti-Semitism in primary schools, secondary schools, universities, a lot of research. So my question is, do you cooperate with German authorities, German scholars, for I think a combined effort can help other people and come to a real European approach on an educational level?
Thank you for your question. It's interesting. Why? First of all, 3 years ago, together with the European Jewish Association, we launched a project and we met several countries' education governance to introduce them this education revising project. We had many advanced negotiations with several countries' education governance. Although the COVID just stopped this whole procedure, we will pick up as soon as possible. But we met to, in Germany there are 16 plus Berlin regular education ministries. I don't know how called this countries belong to Germany. So there are many education ministers in Germany. Each, how called this? Has a separate education ministries. So we just, the Rhine-Westphalia and the Berlin territories education minister has met, and we introduced them this program together with the Germany experts of the local communities. We went there together with the RIAS. RIAS is a huge NGO with separate offices all around the country. But unfortunately, the negotiation stopped. I don't know why, maybe political reason, maybe there is some other issues in Germany, but we were not able to move forward. Yesterday we had a conversation with Olivier Varhey, who is responsible for the neighboring country politics. And there is a good chance to gain this project to the neighboring country. So we had a plan to making this project or set up this project in the neighboring countries, for example in Ukraine and the Balkan countries who wants to join to Europe as well. So there is a good chance this project can be launched those countries. But we did not give up Germany, and we did not give up in France. France is different because, you know, the French education politics afraid, and even the French educators afraid to tell from outside what should have been seen on the workbook and worksheets. Okay, but we can create some monitoring reports. What is appear in a Jewish subject in the French workbook used in an elementary and secondary school. It means could be a really advanced result if we can a clear picture what the student receiving from the education program. And don't forget, the European Jewish Association just gaining the youth generation body as well. So belong to the European Jewish Association, there are many young people who wants to do something against anti-Semitism. Yesterday night, the last speaker had the greatest speech ever I heard in the conferences. And in Budapest, we heard from the young guy who is sitting in front of me, exactly, another great speeches. I just draw your attention and urge you, give more power for those young people because they have enough power to do something. You know, our age can speak easily about the facts and what should have been done. But this young generation are able to do that, not just speak about it.
Thank you. So it's really about the doing and not just about the listening or writing. So I'm looking a little bit at the time again, but there we have another question in the audience.
Hi, thank you very much. Michael Wormser, I'm a Swiss citizen and I'm not a politician, but I'm just a Jew. So, when we talk about anti-Semitism, everybody says we have to do something. We have to do and fight anti-Semitism. The anti-Semitism we have to fight, we don't have to fight it on the street with the neo-Nazis. This is horrible, but I think it's a quantité négligeable. The thing which worries me the most, when you want to go against anti-Semitism, you have to have a top-down approach and not a bottom-up. Top-down, I mean, and this is what I'm worried about. I see anti-Semitism in a face, in a clothing, in the hatred against Israel and the bashing of Israel. And this happens not on the street. It happens at first in the plenums of the United Nations, in the plenums of the parliaments of the European Union, and in the plenums of other governments. Now, Kalman Salai made a very important and very interesting comment. He said, hate on Israel is low in Eastern countries. Have you seen the attitude of the Visegrad states against Israel? They're very positive on Israel. Orban, Czech Republic, other countries, Eastern European countries are supporting Israel. And in these countries, you see the hatred against Israel is lower, whereas in Western countries, including my country, Switzerland, the so-called, how you say, well-educated countries, industrial countries, Germany, France, Spain, Switzerland, my own country, UK, you see a high level of Western countries going against Israel, bashing Israel all the time. So if we want to do something against anti-Semitism, we start top-down and not bottom-up. That is my comment. Sorry, it was not the question.
Thank you, Mr. Wormser.
I completely agree with you. Even there is a new initiatives, which is really the most dangerous initiatives in this field. When Jeremy Corbyn tried to modify the IRA definition in the Labour parties, there was a huge resistance because of this. Thanks God, Jeremy Corbyn is not on the floor anymore. But now, and later, there was a Jerusalem announcement, which were signed up by scientists, mostly leftist scientists, that criticism of Israel, it belongs to freedom of speech. And it's not, has to be contained on IRA definition. We completely disagree with it. And now the United Nations start to telling the same bullshit, let's say. It's a really dangerous situation because there is a certain line between the Israel criticism and delegitimate the Israel existence. This is the differences. It's clear. It's clear. So what the IRA definition says, to using the double standards with Israel, it's anti-Semitism. Questioning the presence of Israel is an anti-Semitism. That's what the IRA definition clearly says. What the United Nations tried to do is to wash up these two facts from the IRA definition. This is a really dangerous initiatives which occur more anti-Semitism, we believe, in the next, and mostly in the Western European countries. And you mentioned few countries in the Eastern European region. It's interesting, those countries have right-wing powers. the right wings, who was usually in the 20th centuries attributes as an anti-Semitism, nationalist and revisionist countries because of the history and whatever. But they change, which shows the world can be changed. The people can be changed. We believe that. But we have to educate them. This is the Jewish responsibility. Help them to educate them. And of course, this anti-Semitism is a virus. It's not just catch the Jewish people, but poison the non-Jewish society as well. And that's the most dangerous thing. And the United Nations initiatives to wash up the IRA definition is a cure, that one.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Actually, we're also going to talk about this in our next panel a little bit, but we take one last question from the audience.
My name is Eldad Beck. I'm Europe correspondent of the Israeli daily Israel Hayom. I'm going back to the IRA definition because one of the points mentioned in the definition is denying the fact, scope, mechanism, or internationality of the genocide of the Jewish people. How do you feel about comparisons between the Holocaust and what is happening in Ukraine nowadays, as we have been hearing from EU officials in the last 2 days?
Unfortunately, I am not updated the nowadays happening in Ukraine. But as far as I know, there are no any facts which can be believed. It's true, which shows any genocide is happening in Ukraine. This is a war, all of us knows. One country attacked to another country. As all people suffer from this war, the Jewish people also suffered in this war. Thanks God, the Hungarian Jewish community was able to help, supported by the Hungarian government. We just opened a camp in Lake Balaton, and we're receiving 200 people every week to resting, and if they want to go forward, there is an opportunity. But we are receiving the refugees from Ukraine, the Jewish refugees. So, and the non-Jewish refugees as well. So last half year, almost every day, between 500 and 2,000 people just crossed the border from Ukraine as an asylum. But saying genocide is happening in Ukraine is probably, it's clearly not describe the situation in Ukraine nowadays. That's what I can tell you. There is no enough information for me at this moment.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Please continue your work on reporting. You have one of the best overviews of the whole European, about the development in the European, development of anti-Semitism in the European countries. So thank you so much for your work as well.
Thank you, and let me draw your attention to our website, is APL, Action and Protection League EU.org. You can find the latest research, resolution, and some data about the anti-Semitic incidents and the prejudice and the Jewish perspectives in the certain countries. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. While the fight against anti-Semitism is a very hard one, and we heard also sometimes really like a Sisyphus work, you go up and then everything breaks down again, and it's also often a very lonely one. But we are quite lucky because the people that made anti-Semitism also to their course, they're often very determined. One of these people is Chief Prosecutor Ivan Geshev. You're already coming to stage. He's doing an amazing work in his country, in Bulgaria, but he will probably tell you more about it. The speech will be translated by Mrs. Jolenta, is the right name, right? Yeah.
Hello, everybody. My name is Bettina, and I will try to help you with the translation from Bulgarian to English. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Почвам. Уважаеми дами и господа, днес, когато отбелязваме 84 години от погрома на Кристалната нощ, поставил началото на зловещите събития от Холокоста, заставам пред вас като българин и европеец с тъга, но с гордост и надежда.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, today, when we commemorate the 48th anniversary of the pogrom of the Kristallnacht, which started the sinister events of the Holocaust, I stand before you as a Bulgarian and a European with sadness, but also with pride and hope.
Стъга, защото всички ние скърбим за погубените невинни животи, станали жертва на расовите и религиозни предразсъдъци и на омразата.
With sadness, because we all mourn the loss of innocent lives, victims of racial and religious prejudice and hatred.
С поклон пред паметта на над 1 милион души загинали в този лагер, който посетихме вчера, и пред паметта на над 6 милиона евреи, убити по време на Втората световна война.
With a bow to the memory of over the million people who died in Auschwitz and to the memory of the 6 million Jews killed during the Second World War.
Стоя обаче и с гордост, защото българският народ не предаде своите евреи и не допусна нито един от тях, повтарям, нито един от тях да бъде депортиран в лагерите на смъртта.
However, I also stand with pride because the Bulgarian people did not betray their Jews and did not allow any of them to be deported to the death camps. I would like to repeat again, none of them was deported to the death camps.
Макар че България беше съюзник на Третия райх и 48 000 български евреи живяха повече от 3 години в условия на ограничения, лишения и надвиснала опасност от депортация, нито един от тях не бе изпратен извън пределите на страната и нито един не загуби живота си като евреин.
Although Bulgaria was an ally of the Third Reich and 48,000 Bulgarian Jews lived for more than 3 years under conditions of restrictions, deprivation, and the looming danger of deportation, no one of them was sent outside the country and no one lost their life because he is Jewish.
Благодарение на усилията на Българската православна църква, на политици от целия политически спектър, на заместник-председателя на парламента Димитър Пешев, обявен за праведник на народите от света от Института Яд Вашем, и част от народните представители, на значителна част от българските юристи, лекари, писатели и поведението и подкрепата на повечето българи, обикновени българи, нашите еврейски сънародници бяха спасени. Всички.
Thanks to the efforts of Bulgarian Orthodox Church, politicians from the entire political spectrum, the Deputy Speaker of the Parliament, Mr. Dimitar Peshev, who was proclaimed as a righteous among the nations but by Yad Vashem, and the part of the people's representatives, a significant part of Bulgarian lawyers, doctors, writers, and the consistent support of the ordinary Bulgarians, our Jewish compatriots were saved.
Ето днес до мен седи един мой еврейски приятел, който нямаше да е тук,
с нас, ако това не беше се случило. А и аз самият не бих се изправил пред вас с гордост и издигната глава.
Here today, I have a Jewish friend of mine stands beside me who would not be here with us if this had not happened, and I myself would not stand before you full of pride. Яков.
Изпълнен съм и с надежда.
I am filled with hope as well.
Въпреки че и днес, за съжаление, наблюдаваме възраждане на езика на омразата, нарастване на антисемитизма в световен мащаб и нова война в Европа, аз вярвам, че уроците на Холокоста, по-скоро надявам се, че уроците на Холокоста са научени и че примерът, който моят народ е дал за хуманизъм, толерантност и достоинство е жив, че доброто ще наделее и няма да допуснем повече повторение на това огромно зло.
Although today, unfortunately, we are witnessing a resurgence of hate speech, a rise of anti-Semitism worldwide, and a new war in Europe, I believe that the lessons of the Holocaust have been learned. I also believe that the example of humanity, tolerance, and dignity set by my people is alive, that good will prevail, and we will not allow evil to happen again.
Историческият урок, който никога не трябва да забравяме, е, че всички хора винаги трябва да сме част от голямото семейство на демократичните народи. И никога не трябва да сътрудничим по какъвто и да е било начин на тирани, които отправят предизвикателства към международния ред.
The historical lesson we must never forget. We all must be part of the great family of democratic nations and must never cooperate under any circumstances with tyrants who challenge the international order and our values.
Това са мои думи.
These are my words.
Думи, които винаги съм искал да кажа на евреи и на хора от целия свят. И никога не съм мислил, че ще мога да го направя.
These are words which all my life I wanted to share with all the people, Jews and everybody to the entire world, and I never thought I had a chance to tell it.
Защото съм юрист и прокурор и никога не съм предполагал, че ще говоря пред такава аудитория.
Because I'm a jurist, I'm a prosecutor, and I never expected that I had a chance to speak before this audience.
Съм искал да го кажа, защото това, което описах в годините на Холокоста е чудо.
But I always wanted to say it because what I said about the years of Holocaust is a miracle.
Чудо, за което по света не знаят почти нищо, с изключение на държавата Израел, а за съжаление и в моята страна се говори малко.
Miracle what happened in Bulgaria, for which the people in Israel they know, but the world doesn't, and they should. It should be known.
Както казах, за съжаление и в моята страна се говори малко.
Very unfortunately, as I said, in my country they also don't speak very much about this issue.
Както е казал, аз съм човек на думите и на делата, защото съм юрист и прокурор. И това е нормално.
So I'm a person of words and deeds because I'm a prosecutor and this is normal.
Във времена отново на възраждане на езика на омразата, на антисемитизма, на неща, които може би смятахме за забравени.
In the times where the hate speech and anti-Semitism is identifying the times we believe were over,
все по-важни стават делата.
The deeds are become more and more important.
Или както е казал, може би най-великият българин, дела трябват, а не думи. Васил Левски.
As probably as the most important for Bulgarian historical person, Vasil Levski said, no words needed but deeds.
И затова ще ви кажа, аз като главен прокурор, като институция която представлявам, прокуратура на Република България. А в крайна сметка и България какво правим?
That's why I would like to declare, as a general prosecutor of Bulgaria, what we are doing.
И двете идеи за това се родиха през май месец на конференцията на Европейската еврейска асоциация.
So both ideas we are going to present now, they were born during the conference in May of European Jewish Association.
Говорейки с някой от вас, с господин Бенджамин, с господин Марголин и с други.
Having spoken with the Rabbi Margolin and Benjamin.
Първото е конференция, която ще се проведе в началото на декември в София.
First of all, we will hold a conference the beginning of December in Sofia, 5th and 6th of December, 2 days conference.
Ще се казва Стоп на езика на омразата, Stop Hate Speech.
So, and the name of the conference is No to Hate Speech.
Защо това е важно?
Why this is important?
Казваме, че Холокостът е започнал с погрома на Кристалната нощ.
So we say the Holocaust started with the pogrom of the Kristallnacht.
Според мен е започнал много по-рано от 30-те години на миналия век.
I believe it started far before the 30s of the last centuries.
И е почнал с първото изречение на езика на омразата.
And it started with the very first sentence of the hate speech.
Просто то не може да бъде датирано.
But it's complicated to put a date on it.
И за това, което се случва за езика на омразата в днешни дни, наистина е опасно.
That's why what's happening with the hate speech in our days is really, really dangerous.
Тази конференция ще има 3 панела.
This conference will consist of 3 panels.
Всички религиозни общности ще бъдат представени.
The first panel will present the spiritual leaders presented in Bulgaria, like Orthodox Church, a Catholic Church, the Mufti, and of course the Rabbi, and the Rabbi guests from which we invited from Europe.
И час да ги посрещнем всички.
So, and it will be our honor to welcome all of you there.
Вторият панел ще бъде различни неправителствени организации и така хора, които мотивират общественото мнение.
The second panel will be with the people who is actually are the public opinion stakeholders on this matter, and most of the non-governmental organization we are under the constant pressure of the hate speech.
И се надявам,
no matter what.
И се надявам и съм сигурен, че ще има представители на държавата Израел.
And I also hope we will have a representatives of State of Israel.
Третият панел е юридическият, защото езикът на омразата има юридически измерения.
Yes, and the third panel will be only with the jurists, because the entire problem has a judiciary dimension, and the legislation should be changed on this. That's why.
Поканих и съм сигурен, че ще дойдат поне 10 главни прокурори на страни от Европа и Европейския съюз.
That's why I'm mostly sure that my colleagues from European Union, the General Prosecutor from European Union, they will come to this conference and they will participate in this panel. If not, their deputies probably, but at least 10 of them that will be presented in Sofia.
Сигурен съм, че това ще е може би най-голямото събитие в страната ми и се надявам с общи усилия да стане европейско събитие.
I'm sure that it will be the most important event in my country, but I also hope it might turn to be an important European event as well.
И за мен е чест, че съорганизатор ще бъде Европейската еврейска асоциация.
And for me, the greatest honor is that our event will be co-organized with the European Jewish Association. So thank you very much. Please accept my personal gratitude to AJ. Thank you to Rabbi Margolin as well.
И втората
So we are not alone in this.
идея, която реализираме.
So and the second idea we realized,
когато имах честта да запаля едно от свещите на брега на Дунав май месец,
when I was honored to light a candle close to Danube River on the Shoe Monument,
където са убити хиляди евреи,
where you know well what happened with thousands of Jews
ще бъда кратък.
near Danube.
Възникна идеята за паметник, който е за спасението на българските евреи, юристите, които са участвали в спасението на българските евреи.
We came to the idea to make a monument of all the men of law in Bulgaria who actually participated in serving the life of Bulgarian Jews.
Може би ще живот и здраве впечатляващ, може би един от най-добрите в Европа, се надявам. Надявам се да е готов следващата година, когато са 80 години от спасението на българските евреи.
We hope that it will be impressive. As you see, it's beautiful, and as you see, we try to get ready for the anniversary of saving Bulgarian Jews next year, 80th anniversary.
Най-добрите български архитекти и скулптори
These
са го
are
проектирали.
the best Bulgarian architects and artists worked on the project, which you can see.
Само метала ще е над 6 тона.
The metal will be over the 6 tons.
На най-хубавото място имаме разрешение от кмета на София срещу еврейския културен център.
We receive the best place in the very heart of Sofia, just in front of the Jewish Cultural Center to build it.
Ако се интересувате, ще дадем подробности, за да не отрешавам слушателите.
Okay, these are details about how it's going to look, but you have the pictures.
И ще приключа с едни думи на Фритьоф Нансен, който е създател на така наречените Нансенови паспорти, благодарение на което много евреи са се спасили. Такива паспорти са издавани от български дипломати.
I would like to finish with the sentence of Fridtjof Nansen. You know, the Nansen passports which saved thousands of Jews. And
с трудните проблеми се справям веднага.
With the difficult problems, I can deal immediately.
С невъзможните проблеми ми трябва малко време, за да ги реша.
But with impossible problems, I need a little bit of time to solve it.
Така че се надявам с общи усилия да решим и невъзможните проблеми.
So that's why I believe and I hope we all together we can solve the impossible problems.
Благодаря ви, за мен беше чест.
Thank you very much. It's been a great honor for me.
Thank you so much, Mr. Geshev. Bettina, he said something really important. It's great that he put so much effort in, and I know it's really not easy to stand alone in the judicial system. So we have to always think about this like part of unity, because when we really want to do something against anti-Semitism, we have to support each other. And we're here from the European Union, which should be working as one. Going now from Bulgaria to the Netherlands, another European country, we welcome Mr. Bastiaan Belder and Ellen van Praag, President of the IPOR. Please join me here on the panel. We will start though with like a little video message from the Dutch Minister. Yeah, I wait a second until you sit down. So a short video message of the Dutch Minister for Justice and Security, Ms. Dilan Yeşilgöz, which has like a Turkish background and a Jewish husband, and who is also like really, again, like fighting against anti-Semitism. And afterwards I will hand over to you. Thank you. So it will come up in 1 second, wonderful. So, yes.
Joseph Nalewka, a Czech accountant, Born in October 1902, murdered in July 1942. Selma Lievendag, from the Dutch town of Hengelo. Born in October 1939, murdered in October 1942, together with a brother. George Halpern, born in October 1935 in Vienna, and murdered in April 1944. 3 names accompanied by 3 photographs. 3 lives brought to a brutal end, murdered in Auschwitz, merely because they were Jewish. I didn't seek out these 3 individuals. They came to me through postings by the social media account of the Auschwitz Memorial. The account now has almost 1.5 million followers, and it keeps the stories of those who were murdered alive. They lived, and they won't be forgotten. At the same time, the Auschwitz Memorial ensures that memories of the Nazi atrocities won't be forgotten either. A fairly new way to expose anti-Semitism is to study a place where it's increasingly running rampant, on the internet. In the online world, conspiracy theories fueled by anti-Semitism are finding their way to individuals who are susceptible to them. And unfortunately, in these uncertain times, they are reaching an ever larger audience. Sadly, I am unable to be with you today, but I find your mission so important and inspiring that I wanted to say a few words to you. After a long time spent in the margins of society, it is good to see Jewish communities thriving once more all across Europe. And thanks to organizations like the European Jewish Association, which promote Jewish culture and give Jewish people the voice they were denied for so long. So it's all the more distressing that the scourge of anti-Semitism is once again gaining a foothold in Europe and elsewhere. And history teaches us that when that happens, a further erosion of democracy and the rule of law can't be far behind. In the Netherlands, we are also seeing a rise in anti-Semitism, manifesting itself in a variety of different forms. So we have taken a number of steps, including appointing a national coordinator on combating anti-Semitism and making Holocaust denial a criminal offense. But we're also focusing specifically on education and on the many wonderful attributes of the Jewish community. So I am glad that education is one of the main themes of your conference. After all, we can't leave combating anti-Semitism to Jewish people alone. We have to do this together. Almost every country in Europe now has an official dealing with anti-Semitism, and we are cooperating closely to tackle this scourge in each new form it takes, because new forms of anti-Semitism call for a new approach. So let us work together to develop inspiring projects to combat anti-Semitism. And let us learn from each other so that we can support the Jewish community in Europe. I am grateful to you for all of your good work, and I wish you a productive and inspiring conference.
Thank you, even this isn't here. Again, the message, you only can do it all together, but please, Ellen van Praag, who doesn't know you, she's the president of IPOR in the Netherlands. Yes, I give you the floor.
Can you hear me? First of all, Mr. Keshev, you have told just a minute ago, 2 minutes ago, in your country, you didn't support the extermination of the Jews. To give you a small example of how it went in Holland, 75% of the Jews in Holland were murdered. Anyway, I'm going to start with a speech of Mr. Edmund Burke. The only thing for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. This quote is the epitome of the situation in Holland before the war, but also nowadays it is still opportune. Yesterday was for me personally a very sad and moving day to see and actually feel the enormity of the professional extermination of my family and the more than 100,000 Dutch families, individuals, persons, murdered by the Nazis in the Holocaust. It is inconceivable that 6 million Jewish people were so professionally murdered. My family. Why? Just because of the perfectly organized machine of evil and good men doing nothing. Hip hip hooray for democracy, because this was made possible because of democracy. The Germans choose their murderous leader, and good men did nothing. Even when it was apparent that the Kristallnacht was without consequences, because no government in the whole world reacted to this incredible event. Hitler got the green light to continue his crimes. The Dutch government took a democratic decision and closed their borders for German refugees. My own grandfather tried to help those who managed to get through, but little did he know what was to come. My mother, Zichona Livracha, said to me about 10, 15 years ago, "Ellen, beware. It is now as it was in the 30s, before the war." How wise and true she was. For now, the clock is ticking. Dear politicians, journalists, influencers, etc. Our democracy, our democratic way of life as Jews in Holland is at a turning point. Our system is making it possible that parties like the Forum for Democracy, the name in itself is an insult, and extremist groups can speak freely and openly pure and simple anti-Semitism without any restraint. In Holland, BDS can ask for information on the grounds of openness of governance from all Dutch universities and schools of higher education. Professors and students were asked to disclaim their relations to Israel. Any Dutch Jewish institution, Jewish companies, etc. Luckily, this was noticed by Mr. Elian, and he managed to stop this pure and simple anti-Semitic movement and action together with a few Christian parties and our Minister of Justice. Can you imagine the impact on the students and professors? It is so intimidating and brings back every feeling of insecurity, which is at the moment very present at many institutions. The immediate effect of this situation is that a lot of young people are leaving Holland because of the poisonous climate. The ultimate effect is ever more disastrous. It means the nearing end of Judaism in Holland. How can I be a mother, wife, grandmother, and not standing up to this? How can I face my heritage of living in Holland since the 1600s? We are very small in numbers and therefore need all of you to stand with us in this Christian Jewish society. We contributed to the legacy of the Netherlands, and I will not be eradicated. But there's always a but. We, as a Jewish community of Holland, need your help, for you can be the good man not to stand back, but act. Don't be 5%, but let your numbers grow and show there's a place for everybody in this society. My family was murdered, and therefore the loss for the Dutch society of all the things that could have been. You, as you sit here, have now the chance, or dare I say, well, I lost my line, so sorry. Or dare I say obligation, to stand with us in order to save not only my community, but the whole society of Holland. Be human and act. Don't let hatred win, for the democracy is at stake. Am Yisrael.
Thank you. Thank you very much. You can keep it. Keep it. Thank you very much, Mrs. van Praag. Yes, it's the responsibility of all of us, but especially going out there. This important audience here. So, when I was doing my research about your country, by the way, I'm from Germany originally, so Netherlands always was known for its liberal values, and I always had I think it was quite good, easy to live as a Jew in the Netherlands, but that changed dramatically in the past years. I found a survey of the European Union Agency for Fundamental Rights, and there 90% of the respondents in the Netherlands said that they consider anti-Semitism has increased over the past 5 years, which is 90%. That's a lot. In the other surveyed countries throughout Europe, it was less. It was in the 80s. So yes, Netherlands has to do something here. So how could that happen? Actually, I will direct this question now to you, Mr. Bell.
Is he on? Yes?
Yeah. Yes.
I wanted, when you allow me, to continue on what my dear co-fellow of the Netherlands said about, as a former journalist, I want to know, you should have your primary sources. Who are the victims of anti-Semitism? That are the Jews, the Jewish community. So when there was a request to lay bare on university teachers their contacts with Israelis or Jewish persons in the Netherlands, I spoke with 2 professors. One, a woman, said when that request came, it was like a bomb exploded in my face. It was not only an emotional impact, but also a physical impact for days on her. Then, a professor I spoke with, he said, it is reminding me of the 30s and the 40s, when German armies arrived in European countries. The first question was, who are here the Jews? The effect of this request that was so handed over by university administrators to their teachers about their context. It was for him a return of the times. It was like the 40s. The question is, who are here the Jews? And for me, as a non-Jewish Protestant civilian burger of the Kingdom of the Netherlands, it is in my view, and as an historian, as a person, as a Christian, it is the problem of anti-Semitism is firstly, in first instance, the responsibility of the non-Jewish majority in our society and all societies in Europe. There lies the first responsibility. And I am brought up with parents. I was born in 1946 with all this, with this special responsibility. And what I see in my research, in my interviews, is the core of present anti-Semitism in the Netherlands is Israel hatred. And anti-Zionism, respectively anti-Israelism, and now I'm quoting Professor Michael Wolfson from Germany, a quite good expert, is, in essence, is pure anti-Semitism because Israel is the essential life insurance of the Jewish community in the world.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay. So it's, you say it's the root of anti-Zionism. I will hand over that question directly also to you, Mrs. Van Bracht. So you think it is like always hidden in a way? It's like we hide behind this anti-Zionism, like I don't know, like sentence, like, oh, we're just criticizing Israel, but actually there's like something else underlying. And you said something which made me quite like sad, that many Jews are leaving the Netherlands. Yes, so also how, like, what's the course and how you think this can be prevented?
The course is quite clear. The course is quite clear because it's, as my neighbor, Mr. Belder said, people don't feel safe anymore in the Netherlands. And especially the youngsters, they don't have established a business, a profession already. And it's for them much easier to go to either Israel or any other country where there's less visible or viable or existing anti-Semitism. Israel is the safest place for us to go to, and it's the only escape we have. And I think that's the greatest difference between now and the 30s, because then my grandparents didn't have the ability to go anywhere else. And now we all can go to Israel. It would be quite crowded, okay, but still, it's a possibility. And I think it's really crazy that a country that has so many Jews and well, gained so much in history from Jews in Holland, that we're ignored. Not by everybody, of course not. But there are quite a few democratic parties in Holland that think they have the, how shall I put it, the mean to exterminate me. And I don't want to be exterminated, because they hate the Jews. They want to have them gone. They want to eradicate them. And I think that's the main issue in Holland at the moment. Like I said, the Forum for Democracy, it's a democratically chosen party in parliament. And they get so much coverage in journals, on television, on the radio, where they can talk vile talk. They talk about Jews like we're vermin. And I think that's crazy. And democracy is okay, and we need democracy. But sometimes you have to act and put a stop to certain people who speak under this guise of democracy.
So it's the silence, also the silence from the society in general, who say, oh, this may be a little incident, one little sentence, yes.
I think a lack of the debate. The professor who was so pressed and feel humiliated, and he was from American origins, by the way. He lived for 90 years in the Netherlands. He found our country a fantastic country. But then, with this request, he was projected, he was drawn back in the times and said, what's happening here? And the fear and the feeling of insecurity. And his proposal is still on the table. What democracy means an open society. He proposed a conference on academic level on all facets, also anti-Israelism,
like BDS,
on anti-Semitism, and that is important. For it is important that I, as a taxpayer, should know what students in the Netherlands learn. I'm an historian. What are their studies, the books, the lectures, openness, and that I also read from other scholars, also in Germany here, because then it touches on aspects of anti-Semitism, like Islamist anti-Semitism, Israeli anti-Semitism, BDS, that is quite important and visible at the universities. We should open the channels for what are the sources of disinformation or pure Jew hatred. What are the sources? And we should speak on it, and we should debate on it. And in that way, by detecting it, we could attack it. And that is also not only so that's the role of the universities, of politics, but also of the media, of course. Also the role of the media as a former journalist, the coverage of anti-Semitism in general, and Israel is so below the level of pure information. It is, disinformation is often even openly hatred. When I read in Dutch newspapers, columnists writing why I cannot love Israel, and then comes all the things, that is fuel for anti-Semitism.
So you say, as I understand, right, there's also, they merge together like Jewish life, Jewish community with Israel all the time. So this is like why the hate is like projected on everyone. You're like not
all the time. No, of course not.
Yeah.
But the crazy thing is, we don't get a chance to contradict it because we're small in numbers. As our Minister of Justice just this week said on the radio, if you combine all the Jews in Holland, religious, not religious, you all know Ajax. It's a soccer team. And they have a stadium in Amsterdam. And it's quite a large stadium. And our Minister of Justice said, if you put all the Jews together, all of them, they won't even fill the stadium of Ajax. That's how small in numbers we are. And that's why we need help. We need help to prevent all this vile and hatred and anti-Semitism, anti-Israelism. Because we need to be able to, with the support of our politicians, of course, because that's the route where we can find our support. But there's also a limit to possibilities, of course, and I understand that. But we need your help. Please, as European parliamentarians and as anybody, journalists, try to give a real picture. What is Israel? What is a Jew? Even Dutch quality newspapers are able to transfer the meaning of being in Holland, living in Holland like a Jew. It's really crazy.
Yeah, and I think you say something really important here. You're very small in numbers, so we are all very small in number. So it makes the topic very unpopular for politicians because they want to get elected, right?
And it's much easier to score when you're talking against some small community who doesn't talk back. We try to talk back, of course. We have our supporters, but still, it's very, very difficult.
So when we put it more maybe on the political agenda, it's also about this freedom of religion. Like every individual should be supported and be allowed to walk with the keeper around without being attacked.
But I think not only freedom of religion, all the core, the fundamentals of freedom, of our freedom.
Yes.
When Jewish students cannot attend courses on the Middle East, only seeing and reading very biased so-called scholarly analysis that fuels Israelism, so anti-Semitism. What is this for an academic level? So what is in charge? That are the authorities on education. That is our governments, our politicians. And to stand up and to have a real debate. And that is, things go on. Things go on. I totally agree with Professor Michael Wolfson, what you wrote on the occasion of the Kristallnacht. It was on Saturday in the Jüdische Allgemeine in Germany. Nie wieder. He was fed up. He said, nie wieder. I want deeds. Not only in Germany, and I as a Dutchman say, especially in my own country, because of our very dark past.
Absolutely.
And this dark past should not be a dark present. That is the issue. That should be a lighting present, especially for the Jewish people, the Jewish community that indeed, historically speaking, I'm an historian, contributed so much to our civilization and to the civilization of Europe at all.
Thank you. And that was a very important message from both of you. We need support because of the small number and this unpopular topic, but it's about the European values that we need to protect. And that goes to all of our countries, which kind of brings me to our next guest. Thank you so, so much. And good luck to the community in the Netherlands. We are with you. Yes. So, we talked a little bit, has to happen an outside action, outside transformation, right? We have to do, each of our governments has to do something. Our next guest has a very special story. He's also a very dear friend of mine. He's an Israeli citizen today. He came from Tel Aviv, but he grew up in Germany. And actually, he was for a long, long time, he was a leader of a neo-Nazi group. And I know that this whole transformation from being an extremist neo-Nazi in Germany all his youth until living as a very Jewish life in Tel Aviv today, it took you 14 years. So what kind of transformation is that also? And we want to speak today about also what are the roots of hate? So I'm very happy to welcome you. Welcome, Jonathan Lange.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. I'm very honored to be here, to be part of this very important symposium. And we all have seen the horrors of the Holocaust. We heard many examples across Europe where Jewish life is still at risk. And for me, especially with my past, 10 years in a neo-Nazi leader in Germany, I feel honored to be part to this very important delegation. And I feel blessed that I can stand here today as a different person. And it was because of many Jewish people that were helping me on this journey. So I would like to share with you a few takeaways that brought me here, and also a few ideas how I see we can go forward to bring more change to Europe, to bring more change to people in Europe. When I was a teenager, I simply wanted to belong, and I happened to have friends that were neo-Nazis. So we listened to music, we went to parties, and I realized at some point that every day when we wake up, there's negativity in all of us that wakes with us up as well, that wants to inspire us, to convince us to do selfish actions. And I believed this voice inside of me. I believed it. And I followed up on it by actions. I got something out of it all the time. Every time I got energy when I yelled at someone. Every time, Adam, can we continue, please? Every time I felt good about myself when I put someone down. Every time I didn't have to face my own issues when I blamed someone else. When I pointed out the issues of others. And I didn't have to take responsibility when I could say it's someone else's fault, when I could blame the other. I felt in control, I felt strong, but I was living a lie. And at some point in my life, I was curious what else is out there. It was a very lonely path. Most people didn't want to deal with me. One second. Can you go back, please? Most people didn't want to deal with me. I couldn't speak with my neo-Nazi friends either. I I was very lucky that at some point, someone accepted me as I was at this point. There was another human being that was willing to help another human being that was struggling with his life. And this person is the son of a Holocaust survivor. He did what he learned from his father and his religion, to be a Mensch, as we say in German, to be a human being, to do good, to help others, no matter where they are, and no matter where they are at. This person happened to be a Jew, someone that I would hate. He touched my heart. He took his time, he made an effort to help me. A person like me that hated his fellow men. At this point, I was in a duality of hatred and love. I hated that he was Jewish, but he taught me so much. And I would like to share one of my struggles and how he helped me to overcome it. Every time I would have been very reactive when I didn't like something, even to the point that it was okay for me to punch someone. I was a karate professional and I had all the means to hurt other people. And I simply didn't understand why I shouldn't do it. So he said, you might think you're strong, you might think you're in control, but the reality is that the situation and the other person are controlling you. And that struck me. You're reacting. You have no control about your reaction. So I was curious, okay, so how can I be in control? And he said, simply by looking inside, by controlling how you react. And that put the responsibility in my shoes. Most people don't know that they have a choice how they react. Most people can't hear the voice of their soul. And that is why their actions are not changing, but they can learn. I had to learn so much how to apologize, how to treat others well that are different, how to accept and grow from difficult situations, how to be vulnerable, how to show other emotions than just hatred. I had to learn to become a Mensch. And I was lucky that I had people around me that showed me this path, that accepted me as I was. I was lucky that there were people that had the courage in the face of darkness, that choose love over separation. We see many people out there that are struggling. We all are struggling from time to time. And we all need each other to overcome this struggle. We need to create more places where light shines, where values are shared, where people live by example. Judaism is a great example how to face all kinds of challenges with love, with patience and faith. We need to protect this light for the world, and we need to bring it to others. It is not enough to condemn an action that is clearly wrong. It is important to do so, but it's not enough. A person that hates needs to change as well. We can't stop by canceling contracts, condemning their actions, or protecting ourselves. We also need to teach them how to change. And for that, we need love. I learned all good values from Jewish friends, rabbis, and teachers. And from other people of the community that are not Jewish, but they learned from their Jewish friends. The people of the world need to learn them. They need to learn these values. We already know how to help people, how to make the world a better place. But it's up to us to actually do it. Anti-Semitism is not a problem of Jews. it's all our problem. Because it is hatred in its source. And hatred doesn't stop just with Jews. We need to bring more light to the world so that the darkness eventually disappears. And it's a daily collective responsibility, a huge task that is in front of all of us. But it doesn't take much to get started. It's a decision, an action, a desire. But it needs to be consistent every day until people see that they can choose their actions and don't need to be negative. We don't need to be big leaders, big countries, we heard it yesterday, to do good things. Each one of us can help by being kind, by living by example, by inspiring others, and by being brave and loving in the face of darkness. I'm very honored that I'm after 14 years now standing in front of you as an Orthodox Jew that is recognized by the Rabbanut in Israel, that lives in Israel, what I couldn't imagine, that got a chance for a new life. We all have the power to inspire other people. We all have the power to help other people. We don't need any hatred. We don't need separation for that. We all can open our hearts because love is stronger than hatred. I know it's difficult. I know it's a difficult task to deal with people that hate. I realized that I had to learn a lot. But it was only through the help and through the love of others that I had the energy to be a different person. And I appreciate really all your efforts that you're doing to educate, to also to inspire and to share the values. And I wish that we're doing more and that we are sharing these values to more people, and that eventually we can stop all this hatred and stop all this nonsense. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. That was a very different approach, and I know it's not easy to go back in this past, and I have the opportunity to talk to you more often, so I would like to be a bit unconventional and open the panel to the audience, because some of you only met Jonathan right now, if you have questions to him. Yes, I think your words are still working in the different individuals. So I would like to know from you. You already kind of said it, what we can do against hate, and you also say it doesn't stop with our Jewish friends. It will continue hate, and especially it's so much easier to blame the other and not look at the actions we do ourselves every day. So maybe you can say more about that.
Yeah. Basically, the hatred needs to be transformed. The hatred that is inside of the person that has the hate to other people. And when a person has hatred, he doesn't have it to one specific group. He has it to all people where he feels that this trigger of hatred is pushed. So he will have it to any person, and he is more a person that is looking on the outside. He's blaming other people. He is putting the responsibility in other people's shoes. And he's not taking the responsibility. He's not looking inside. And he's not connecting to himself. Most likely because he doesn't feel good about himself, or because of other issues. But the person that hates doesn't know how to love yet. He doesn't know like how to be a good person. And it is in all our interest that hatred itself is removed from the world. It is in all our interest that the majorities of countries are starting to recognize that the education in school need to include how to be a good person, how to be a mensch, how to treat other people well. It's not about just learning science or like languages in school. It's also an education needed how to be a good person. And for this we have all these values that need to be shared and like educated on. So that even children growing up know that it is bad to bully another person, that it is bad to treat someone else not as you want to be treated yourself. These are the basics of all the religions. And I think this is where a deep change can happen for the future generations when we educate children how to be a good person.
Thank you, Jonat. Now there is so many questions popping up. I don't even know where to start. I think Rabbi Gutentag was the first one. Or start with Rabbi Gutentag. Then I give. Yes, you're going to be the second one.
Hello. Thank you so much. Jonathan, what would you say is a greater threat to the Jewish people? Neo-Nazi anti-Semitism or Islamic anti-Semitism?
What's the bigger threat? Islamic anti-Semitism or neo-Nazi anti-Semitism?
Wow, it's a good question. I think they're not so different. Once after I left the group, someone that I know from the past, I happened to be in touch with her on Facebook. She asked me, okay, so you changed your life, I understand that, but why not doing something normal? Why did you have to go to the enemy? Why did you have to go to the Jews? And I think neo-Nazis and any, how do you say?
Political correct?
No, the Islamic, extremists, they all think the same about the Jews. They're the core enemy. I think in its core, it's a fear that they have to, the fear of the light of the Jewish people, the fear of the values, the not taking the responsibility that Jewish people are taking over centuries, even though they are persecuted and threatened and killed. Jewish people live by their values, and extremists don't. And it's a great fear of the unknown that I experienced in my path, because when I went out from my path of hating, it was very simple. It was very simple to hate other people, to be aggressive, to be angry, to put others down. It was very simple. But when I had to learn how to be a mensch, it was very unknown. It was a very new path for me, so I naturally rejected it all the time. But when I found a bigger reason why to do these steps, I found the strength to overcome it, and it was only because of the help of friends and the community and Jewish people eventually that I found bigger reasons why not to hate. And I think at its core, extremists from the Muslim world, I'm sorry, I'm not so familiar with these terms, and neo-Nazis, they're pretty much the same at its core, and their willingness to fight Jews and the willingness to put actions, and also to what we've seen in history, they're very much on the same level to do these actions.
Thank you.
Here. Okay, I have a bit of a personal question.
Please introduce yourself.
Okay, my name is Bloema Jacobs. I live in the Netherlands. I'm the wife of Chief Rabbi Jacobs of the Netherlands. And my question is, how did this personal decision affect your relationship with your family?
Thank you for the question. I was hiding the 10 years in the group from my family. It was part of a sports club. So it's a professional karate sports club I was in. The coach was involved. He didn't stop. He didn't say anything against it. He let us listen to the music. He encouraged us to listen to music, to go to parties. Even coaches from that are working in the police were accepting it, were not discouraging us, were not stopping us, although they knew it was illegal. I was hiding all this from my parents. Only after the process, when I realized I wanted to change, and I started to go to synagogues, I started to learn, and I started my conversion, my Orthodox conversion, I started to reveal it to my parents. And in the beginning they were shocked because they felt they failed. But afterwards they realized that they're very proud that I'm making these steps. And our relationship got much better because I'm a better person. So we are also connecting on a very different level now. They are very supportive.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Ich kann kein Englisch, kann ich die Frage auf Deutsch formulieren? Mein Name ist Irina Katz. Ich bin seit fast 30 Jahren in Deutschland, ursprünglich aus der Ukraine, aus Donetsk. Ich bin Vorsitzende der jüdischen Gemeinde in Freiburg im Breisgau. Meine Frage, ich habe zwei Fragen. Die erste Frage ist, also Sie haben viel über den Hass gesprochen. Und meine Frage ist, wo kommt dieser Hass bei den jungen Menschen in Deutschland nach allem, was da in der deutschen Geschichte passiert ist? Das ist die erste Frage. Und die zweite Frage zur Befangenheit. Warum gibt es doch eine sehr schwere Bindung sozusagen von jungen Menschen, deutschen Menschen, nicht jüdischen, zu uns, der jüdischen Gemeinde. Also in der Schule haben sie entweder Holocaust in der Schule oder Israel. Und zu lebendigen jüdischen Gemeinde, die nicht jüdischen, jungen deutschen Menschen anzuziehen, zu unseren kulturellen Veranstaltungen zum Beispiel etc., ist es immer noch sehr schwierig. Die Frage ist, warum?
So thank you very much. I'm just going to translate the questions. So the third one was looking at Germany. How can it be that there is like where's the root of the hate there? Like after all what happened and the history, how is that possible? If I understood you right. And the second question is, coming from a Jewish community in Germany, how can we also make the events more attractive? It's still very, very hard to get young people to our events and to the Jewish community and really also like live more the Jewish life. So these are the two questions. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. I think it's easier to hate. It's very easy to hate and to follow negativity. We all know that. We know it without comparing the examples. We all know it when we have to do something good, going to the sport. It's very hard for us to go there, to motivate ourselves. But it's very easy to smoke a cigarette. It's no comparison. But it shows how easy it is to follow our negativity and how difficult it is to stand up, to do the right thing, and to change even. And I think in Germany also, if we don't have especially in Germany, if we don't have a consistent effort to deal with the negativity, to inspire people to live by values, and to not allow any negativity to happen, it is naturally coming back. Naturally, negativity will come back if we don't do anything about it. It's in our essence as human beings. But the reward of doing something good, the reward of change, the reward of becoming a good person is much greater. So it's in our responsibility to inspire other people to live by these values, and this needs to come from the leaders, from people that live by example, to show this path that it's worth taking, to be with love and with courage when it's difficult, that it's good to be a good person, and this needs to be in companies, it needs to be in schools. If a company rewards a good person, not just someone that is achieving goals for the company, but a person that is a good person, if this is one of our values in our society, then other people are inspired to live by that. If we reward good actions by people that are simply just doing the action for the sake of the action and not to get anything out of it, then we inspire other people to do the same. And I think this is what we can bring also to the communities, that knowing how to be a good person is a value itself. It's something every leader should know. Every leader of a community, of a country, should learn and how to inspire other people. And once we do that, it will be naturally a desire of the people to learn these values, to learn these paths, and then to come to events, and then it comes from the bottom up, although from top to down it needs to be established.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. Please, you want to talk more, you need to talk more about your stories in the European Parliament, in the different governments, so your story has to go out there to educate others. So we're going to take one last question before going into the break. It's actually very important because I had Jewish community from the rabbi, and also from rabbi, and now from the political side. So please introduce yourself.
Yes, thank you. My name is Els Ampe. I'm a senator in Belgium, and nice to meet you. I'm very struck by your story, and I wonder if you inspired former group leaders of the neo-Nazis to follow your path and to say goodbye to neo-Nazism. And the second question, actually, when you get mad, you talked about anger and being angry at other persons, but normally when you get mad and you lash out, then afterwards you feel bad about the situation and then you apologize to people. And I wonder if you had this feeling too, or you never experienced that feeling before, or you ignored that feeling and now you're experiencing this feeling. Is it something new, or is it something that you did not experience before your transformation? That's something I'm really curious about. I'm sorry about it's a very personal question.
Yeah. No, I'm happy to share. So about the first part of the question, a friend of mine from the neo-Nazi group also left the group, and he got married to a Nigerian woman and has children together, where he followed a different path, but in the same way he chose the path of reflection and internal change. And he is a different person now, and he would never go back. And we met in Berlin and we spoke, and we're both very happy that we got the chance and the schut, the merit to go out from this group and to become a better person. And about the first question, it is, you will see it with neo-Nazis and with every extremist group, that they're very isolated by society. They're very isolated in what they do, how they believe, and how much information they're taking in from society. So I had very selective friends. I didn't have any foreign friends, obviously, right? I cannot. I cannot admit that a Jew or a foreigner is funny, that he's making a good joke. I cannot go to any restaurant that is owned by a foreigner because I don't want to give the money to them. I cannot watch certain movies. So it's a very isolated group. And with that comes also that you're suppressing all your emotions in a way. You're not true with yourself. You're not true because you're under the pressure of the group that you have to live by the standards. So when there's something funny from a foreigner, it's simply not, just because he's a foreigner. And so you're suppressing your emotions. You don't get to know all the spectrum of your emotions. So I had these emotions, but I didn't allow them. I didn't let them come out. And it took a lot of courage, it took a lot of support to be able to allow them, because it feels very different to live them, right? And to also remove all the blockages that I had before, where I didn't allow myself to be the person that I am. And it goes without saying that I'm burned in this group and with all the people that I was relating to. And now it will be the first time that after this symposium, I'm going to visit my family in Berlin, and it will be the first time after living in Israel for 3.5 years to visit Germany and to go there as an Israeli. And it's going to be interesting also for me to go to a city that I know very different, in a different way. And but this time I only make it for 2 days and then I go back to Israel. It's safer there also.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. We're going to now do like a 10-minute break. Please be here back on time. Thank you so much for sharing your story. And to all the other panelists, we continue with very exciting topics after the break. 10 minutes, 10 minutes. I already asked the panelists for the next panel, please be here like 2 minutes before so you can already be seated and we can start on time. Thank you so much.